детям с проблемами здоровья. Другие категории детей, которые также должны быть включены в общий учебный процесс, до сих пор не только законодательно, но и в ментальности нашего общества не воспринимаются. Это большие проблемы. Спасибо.
Большое спасибо, Илья Павлович. А сейчас я хочу предоставить слово Астрид Торс, члену парламента Финляндии.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the understanding. I was a little bit missing out because I met a Finnish journalist who is here in Moscow due to good cooperation in the 90s with ЯБЛОКА youth. So it's ЯБЛОКА youth's fault that she's a very good Finnish journalist here in the camp, and it's your credit. But also it has been very interesting to listen to the previous presentation, because I think it reminds us also of the question that integration is a twofold process. This is something I think that we in Finland used to reiterate when there was not that many questions and debates about immigration, about foreigners in Finland. It was repeated in official documents, but I think we are now realizing this is a process, a twofold process. We must not give the impression that immigration into our countries do not change them, because they do change due to immigration. There are new problems, but there is also the enrichment. And actually I think, in a way, and I'm here looking at Kerstin, saying also that in Finland we have greatly also been influenced and by the principle of the Council of Europe, which has done a huge work in this field. So there really has been a situation. My title is results and let's say some misses, some not so good results, successes and failures in Finland. And in a way, I could proudly say that when we have the so-called MAPEX index, European Union funded research, looking into integration laws, we did get very, very good scores. MAPEX is the right way to pronounce it. We get a very good result. But of course, I sometimes doubt that they are able, in the research are doing the MIPEX, that they are able to look into the results. They are maybe only looking into legislation. But for instance, when we look at some statistics, I must say that so far, for instance, dear Trine, what has been said about Norway has been that you have been very, very successful in Norway as to the question of integration and education of newcomers. If you would have been in Finland 3 years ago, you wouldn't have understood how is it possible that in the public debate the question of immigration seemed to be the biggest societal challenge. In a society where at that point we had only under 3% of non-born persons. Under 3%, which is, I mean, for British or Norwegian, Swedish situation, it's very, very little. But it was, I would say, that it was that this rise of the debate was one of the results because nationalists and xenophobists are very well, at least Nordic and internationally connected. When I had the responsibility as a minister for these questions, I immediately got an email if something had happened in Denmark or in Sweden at least. Immediately they would put the question, how do you answer this problem in Malmö now, as you are the responsible minister? And they connected me in mistake to their obscure websites to see different stories and misperceptions. I think as liberals we must be aware that nationalist and xenophobic forces are very well internationally connected. It of course also became evident to us when we could note that the terrible deeds in the man who had done them, Mr. Breivik, said he had got inspiration from one Finnish blogger, Mr. Halla-aho. So they are, and the ports of Vienna, the questions, all things like that, blogs and them, they are very, very, I would say, very well integrated. So it's good that other forces are also doing networking and do compare our experiences. We had a rise in the debate 3 years ago. Unfortunately, and here I think some of those who are experts even differ. Some say that the rise of the debate did lead to more hatred and more so resonance among the persons. I have unfortunately only in Finnish here one of the most recent polls, but I think it's a little bit, you can see red, those who are saying that they are against other nationalities. But you can see one interesting trait in those polls is, I'm not a racist, but I do believe that the rest of the society is. This is in a kind of a way, I think, a very dangerous answer, because it might lead, okay, I can take some racist steps, because this is the more, they do believe it's more the norm in the society than what it is. I think this is the way. It's like when you're asking, did a man go to the border? They said, I didn't, but my friends did. It's a little bit like the same thing, that because of the rest of the society is in that way, that would in some way make it more acceptable. What is interesting, this is the one thing in the latest poll, the other is that people do fear nowadays foreign cultures. And the way of accepting something that is different. Here I would say that if we have now a feeling that there is less acceptance of persons who come from a different culture and do look differently, then we do not have the good results that the European Union researchers say in many circumstances. But if we look to what things we are proud of, and I would like to single out, let's say, two groups. One that has been very successful in integration, and the other group where the integration has not been successful. We wouldn't have a national, well-working football team without immigration. I'm very thankful for the Russian immigrants here. We have the two brothers Yeromenko, or Yeromenko, how it's pronounced. Sometimes it's pronounced in Finnish way, some more Russian way. Actually, boys do get integrated through sports to a very large extent, and football is very important. Therefore, we have also put a kind of duty on youth organizations, on sports organizations. You should devote a certain amount of the resources you get from the state, from the lottery, to integration work. And it has been successful in many ways because it provides for boys equal opportunities to feel the success. And also we have been trying to learn the organizations really to go through, do you have an anti-discrimination program as an organization? How are you dealing with different situations? I would say that in this way to try to integrate boys is a good way. But where we also have problems is the situation when especially ladies have come to Finland, often to marry a Finn or marry a foreigner. And she is isolated from the rest of the society due to traditional roles, maybe due to the remoteness of where they are living, and she doesn't get any chance to learn any of the native languages. And we had, unfortunately, a situation that only if a lady or a person, any person, was in the need of some kind of social assistance or was looking for work, she or he was entitled to education in the national languages. This meant that we had a group which was largely unseen. And here now we are really doing work to try to find those ladies. Fortunately, very many voluntary organizations and their administration is working together. And I must say, I feel that some nationalistic forces in Russia are exploiting this situation because one large group of persons having come to Finland to marry are Russian ladies. And you might know that you have seen in your TV channels the National Ombudsman for Children from Russia coming with high-profile missions to Finland and saying, look how Russian speakers are discriminated in Finland. This is, and I must say that we feel that the same kind of tactics is also used in some other countries of EU, but in Finnish situation, it has been questions where the ombudsman allegedly says that now we are discriminating against this Finnish Russian family or Russian family, where there has been, for instance, discussions or really difficult questions to solve as where is the child going to live with the mother or the father. Child abduction cases. And unfortunately, Russia has not adhered to the same principles as many other countries, the Hague Convention, how these problems should be solved. And our firm will is that you would adhere to the same principles. But I must say that in many ways it has been very, very lack of understanding between the authorities and the Russian ombudsman who's saying that this is discrimination against them, when Finnish authorities abide by international law and our law. If we see that a child is not in good hands, has not a good situation, then we are, despite of all situations, we do care for the child primarily. We are adhering to a country where we are respecting children's rights independently of the family rights. This is maybe some of a misconception, but that is our tradition, that is our legal norm to do in this way. When there were some high-profile cases some years ago, we did do a check, for instance with the minority ombudsman, to which Russian speakers and Russian nationals turn in Finland. There had not been any situations where they had turned to the authorities. We had no notion that there were more problems among Russian speakers than among any other nationalities in Finland. But this was the kind, we felt that this was very much the kind of a situation exploring the lack of integration into our country and some feelings that it wasn't going that well. Finally, two points. Finland is, could we say, to our benefit or not so rightly, but anyway, there's thought of that we have high quality education. And we have some good results in keeping all young persons, irrespective of economic background, social background, getting acceptable results in the school. We are, of course, getting challenges because of having more migration to Finland, for natural reasons. But our studies and also other studies point to the need that if you want to have good educational results, it is important that the child also and first learns the language spoken at home. Our educational studies do point to that. So when we are talking about is there going to be integration or assimilation, as long as I'm working with these questions, I will really talk for the right of the child to learn the first languages in his or her family, because that is the clue to the successful integration and further education. If we are then more worried about another thing, that is the question of employment. I must say that we have many cases difficulties in comparing the unemployment situation in different European countries, because we are making statistics in different ways. And due to different reasons, our statistic says that unemployment among foreign-born persons in Finland is much higher than the unemployment among Finns. Partly due to ways of statistics, we have a higher number, but it is also seeds of truth that if you have the foreign name, it is much harder to get a work. Then you are asked to have perfect knowledge of the national languages. And I have heard too many stories about the same companies working in other European countries where it is accepted that it's only enough with knowledge of English and some other languages. We have, as a small country, I think, too much emphasis that at workplaces you should know the national languages, and therefore I'm not satisfied with the question of employment among persons. But I think finally that some situations, also in Finland, a foreigner who is there, he is accused of either you are there and not working, or if you are working, you are taking somebody else's work. None is the truth, because our studies shows that with our demographic profile, we do really need more persons to come to work, and we see how successful economically Sweden has been because more work is done there, not less. If we want to really get rid of our economic problems in the European Union, we should have more people in work, not less. And one way of doing that is also through immigration. So thank you very much for providing me with this opportunity to tell a little about the Finnish experience, new as they are. But I also, in this liberal family, I do very much appreciate the possibility to little bit tell about what is the reality of Russian children in Finland, because I certainly know that there has been exploitation of some nationalistic feelings, and I'm ready to continue to discuss that at the pauses if you do want to hear more about these situations. Thank you for your attention.